Welcome to the LG Doghouse. I am your host, Sir Mike Knight. With me, as always, is by Mercy and Grace. Joining me today is Mitty, formerly of the Barry Colts, and Audacity of the Kingston Frontenacs. How you doing, guys?
Good, man. Good.
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, real quick, I'm going to start this off by saying that Greasy really wanted to be on the show. Unfortunately, the chemo is really taking a toll, and he is not well enough to join us. So everybody, keep him in your prayers. We all know what he's going through. The second service announcement we've got to make, I'm going to give the floor to Mercy.
So if any of you watching the show are unaware, I was selected to be a bog in the upcoming season 23, season, I believe, 9 for the CHL. With me taking over that role, it also means that my role here at the Doghouse has to change. Obviously, I'm still doing the Doghouse, because I think it's the media, particularly in the CHL. I are not journalist anymore. The media in the CHL is a big deal. The staff enjoys it. McDonald is a huge supporter of it. Obviously, F5 Penguin, all the media guys love what we've done down here, and love what B Major's show does. So I'm going to continue to at least be on and try my best to produce it and get an episode out weekly. But as far as my involvement, I have to walk a very delicate line, because I am going to still put my opinions out there. I'm probably still going to say things I shouldn't. But as far as when it comes to league decisions, when it comes to controversies with rules infractions, if it gets to a point where I show any partiality toward a team, then I've put myself in a really dangerous situation. So I'm probably not going to be as active as I used to. In fact, I will not be as active as I used to. There's a couple segments coming up where you probably won't hear me say words for 20 minutes at a time, just because that's just the way it is. So
Because I are taking over journalism. We do have some good controversy in this show, but we're going to start by breaking down round 2 of the matchups and the finals. First off, we're going to start with Mitty and Audacity's series here, the Kingston Frontenacs versus the Barry Colts. I'm going to start. I was incredibly surprised that the Barry Colts couldn't at least pull one out here. Audacity, you made it very clear that you were going to beat down on the Colts, and you delivered. After game 2, I think you wrote a post saying that game 3 and 4 are going to be line 1, and we're putting them away. And that absolutely happened. But Mercy, what did you think about this series?
I was like I said in the last episode of Doghouse, all props for Barry for beating the Battalion, but being good for one series does not mean being good for an entire playoff. So honestly, I wasn't surprised at this result. I am moderately surprised they didn't take one game, but 4 or 5 games for this series, Kingston win was not surprising at all to me.
All right, Mitty.
Yeah, well, we understood going in that it wasn't going to be an easy series, and I think with Audacity's mind games over there, that definitely messed up our rhythm, because we were going at it with North Bay at the same time Audacity posted, because he picked a really good time to post it, because he's an evil genius. So he knew how to get us going, and it didn't work against us. It did work against us. I think that played a part in it, and then they were just great defensively, and we couldn't really beat them.
Audacity, were mind games the route you were trying to go to begin with, or were you just trying to be funny?
It started out, man, and we were the number 2 seed, and still everybody was picking against us because they beat,
not everybody.
Oh, okay.
Not everybody. Don't give us that.
Majority of the shows and the picks and everybody that was giving us.
I think we're talking about other shows.
Other shows.
I think you're confusing us with that other show.
That have 18 hosts, and they all think with one mind. Yeah, that show. I mean, obviously they all picked Ottawa 67s this week, because they have the GM on there. Oh, we don't want to piss him off. Let's pick the right team. So like, I was looking at it and I said, you know what? Everybody's like, this team has all the momentum. They have all the pride. I was like, I'm going to turn it against them. I'm going to make them now feel pressure. You want to keep it up? You want to turn the heat up? Let's see how high you can keep it. And once they lost game 1, I was like, oh, it's over. They're deflated. And then when our third line beat Mitty's line, I was like, holy shit, we're done. I was like, there's nothing else that can happen.
that was kind of an EA game. I think we definitely should have won that
one. I completely disagree with your EA assessment. But you definitely should have won. Here's my takeaway from the game, and we did do an after show on that, Mercy. My takeaway from the game was your defense did not step up.
Mm-hmm.
Between that and you losing all kinds of face-offs, plus not helping back on the defense, it did not help at all.
Yeah, not gonna lie.
Was allowing Kingston to walk in on Twist, and Twist couldn't do a damn thing about it.
Yeah, and your GM kind of threw you under the bus after that game too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Rightfully so, to be honest with you. Look, just stop. Rightfully so, because he asked you did not know how to play center. It was apparent in that game. But maybe you do know how to play center. You're just not used to it.
Yeah.
But you need to come back and help in the slot. You weren't doing that. If a defender gets beat, you need to be that next guy up. You need to be that next guy to step back and help on the defense, and you didn't do that. And that was the biggest flaw in that game. You should not have been playing center.
Yeah, well, like when we talked about it with Jamesy, like it is on me because I said I was comfortable playing center because Jamesy is not good at faceoff. But like I was ready to step in and do that because I did play center in 15. I know it's a completely different game. But I was just ready to step in and kind of go for it. So that is on me for thinking I could do a little bit too more than I can even speak.
I don't think game 2 of the playoffs was the best time to experiment on their best scorer on it playing a different position. No. And
it didn't help us that my center Devil's Armory had to go on vacation, so we had to IR him before the series.
Right. All right. So moving on, I think we've all beat that one to death.
It's okay. Beat the dead horse some more.
Contrary to popular belief, you should always beat a dead horse at least 3 more times.
So we're going to move on to Ottawa and the Petes. A lot of people were picking this to be a complete blowout by Ottawa. I believe myself and Aces did predict this in 6 for an Ottawa win. I'm not surprised at all the way this series ended up. I believe that Peterborough. I'm sure you have something to say. We'll get to you. Relax. All right. I wasn't surprised at all that Peterborough was able to take 2, but Ottawa absolutely. There was in my mind there was no doubt that Ottawa would take this series. Mercy.
I'm going to actually plead the 5th on this series.
I plead the 5th.
I think on the ice, the 67s are obviously a great team. I talked about in the first round of the playoffs how they were underrated. Somehow they've been top of the standings all season, and yet somehow no one talks about them. So I wasn't surprised for a 67s win. But as far as anything more than that, I'm gonna stay quiet.
Mitty?
Yeah, well, here it looks like a close series when you look at the games in the 4-2, but you look at the games Ottawa won, with the exception of the first one. 4-3 win for Ottawa. Game 2 was a 7-1 win, and then they closed it out. They closed it out pretty close, but yeah, like, it was a series that could have gone other way. But playing against Ottawa and playing against the Petes, I've played against both of them. Like, I thought Ottawa was the better team, so it was a good series by them.
And Audacity, I know you have something to say about this series. Go ahead.
Oh, dude, I don't know when taking forfeits turns into classiness, but like the Petes had a chance to replay a game that Ottawa had an illegal lineup in, and suddenly everybody's like, "Oh, you guys are so classy because you stepped back." Classy's not quitting. Classy's fighting tooth and nail. Like, Ottawa had it right. If you ain't cheating, you're not trying to win hard enough. I mean, they should have They should have replayed those games. They should have went Game 7. They should have played it all the way out. I don't agree with ever quitting on a series. I don't think there's any reason to forfeit other than there's nobody on and it's nothing else you can do. But that's just the way it ended. I mean, Ottawa's coming to Kingston, and I hope they have their bags packed because they'll be going home empty-handed.
Now, would you have rather played Peterborough?
Oh, hell yeah. Who wouldn't? They have one line. Seriously, it's one line and two, I guess, 3.5 lines. Their goaltending suspect. Their defense is very suspect, other than your sister's aunt and Davy Donuts. So they really only had one line.
All right. So we're going to move on to the other side of the OHL. The London versus Sault Ste. Marie. The way this started was an absolute blowout by London. I believe it was, 11-1 win in game one.
Let me look that up real quick, actually.
It is 11-1.
11-1 win, and Sault Ste. Marie was able to escape with one win against London, which absolutely surprises me after the start of game one. But what doesn't surprise me is London did pull this out and win the series 4-1. Mercy, I believe that surprised you.
Yeah, just to put this in perspective, in 5 games, London scored a total of 35 goals. Like, that's averaging 7 goals a game. If you're averaging 7 goals a game across 5 games in a series, you're probably going to win all of them. It doesn't matter how suspect your defense is. And yeah, it did surprise me a little bit because obviously I played Sault Ste. Marie the first round, got swept, saw some really good play from them, and then for them to come in and get swept by London, that surprised me a little bit. But that just goes to show just how good London is, at least on the offensive side of things. And when you're scoring 7 goals a game, who cares if your defense is okay at best?
Mitty?
Yeah, well, even if their defense wasn't that good in the series, like, their offense definitely took control of it, and Cronwall is still an incredible defense. Every time someone asks me about how I'm going to do in the draft, I say Cronwall will probably go number 1 because you can build a solid team around defense, and London has good defense, and like, once they start clicking well in the playoffs for them, I think it's game over and no one can really beat London.
Audacity?
Yeah, London's one team that's out there that can put up a lot of points. I, unfortunately, when we had the reschedules, had to play them twice in one night. And it just wasn't a fun night. It didn't matter. I didn't have the first line, of course, to play against them. It was the second and third, but they blew us up. I mean, we made them close, but their team can score. I mean, they can just score. They can get scored on, but they can score a lot more than you can.
You do not want to turn any game against London into a shootout, because they could shoot better than you.
Yep. All right, moving on. This is a big surprise to me. Not the winners. The winners aren't a surprise to me. It's the fact that it was a sweep. A 4-0 sweep. Flint Birds beat Saginaw. Mercy.
Team Flint Birds. Hashtag
Flint Birds.
Yeah, I think this came as a shock to a lot of people. I mean, Rowdy and Nylander have been management for a while now, and they always have these successful teams. And then to get swept in the second round by Flint was, that's impressive by Flint. I think winning in that fashion makes this London-Flint matchup something that you definitely want to watch. Definitely. But we'll talk about that later in the show.
Mitty?
Yeah, well, I think Flint made a lot of trades during the season that really helped their team. When they got Vincent, I can't remember the other guy's name, and they got TJ Haley from Halifax, who ended up playing really well for them as well. So they're rolling 3 pretty good lines, and their goaltending and defense is pretty solid too. I thought it was going to be a lot closer to a series, just because Nylander and Virtanen are really good players themselves. So you think that line would have won a game for them, but every game in this series was close. It really one more
sorry.
any other way.
Oh, I think Flint just happened to have karma on their side. I mean, they got ravaged with call-ups in the very beginning of the season, made their record kind of take a dip. But as those AHL teams started falling off and failing, I mean, they got a lot of good guys sent back down to them. They made great trades before the deadline. They got a good value in some people like Dubs, which they pretty much stole due to, again, a personality issues from what their former team said. I mean, it's just a perfect storm of a team coming together at the right time.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Flint has clicked exactly when they needed to, and clicking in the playoffs. That's dangerous against any opponent for them. Is that they're going to be moving in the right direction.
All right, moving on. We're gonna move on to the Q. You got the Armada versus the Cataracts. To me, no surprise here. I called Armada sweeping the Cataracts, but the Cataracts. No offense to the Cataracts, it was a great season for the Cataracts, and it was good. It was a great series against Valdor, but Armada's just too good to face a number 9 seed, and not take all 4 games. Mercy.
Yeah, I don't think this game is a surprise to anyone involved. I mean, the Armada played well all season, and it looks like they're going to continue to play well into the playoffs. 4-0. I don't know if the games. Let me look here. I got the website up. I don't know if any games were even close in that series.
Game 3 was 3-2.
Yeah, game 3 3-2. Other than that, every game was decided by more than 3 goals. So they weren't close games. None of them were really you didn't see any 12-1 blowouts, but they definitely weren't. Shawinigan and definitely had a rough time scoring in that series. So,
Nitty.
Yeah, what really surprised me about Shawinigan is that they sent Hewler down to TC, and it looks like in Game 3 where it was 3-2, that was the only game Hewler was used as an ECU. So I don't know what happened there, because Hewler is a really good center and a really good player, and I think if he was in this series, it probably still would have gone Armada's way, but I think it would have been a lot closer for Shawinigan.
Have you played with Hewler?
I've played against Hewler, and
have you ever played with Hewler?
No, I played against him though, and dominated.
Okay, I brought this up on previous shows. I played with Hewler 2 seasons ago when I was with Shakutni, and there's a reason why he stays in the CHL. He is absolutely an outstanding player, and I will give him that. But he is the most annoying teammate to ever have. And I'm not just talking about during games. Outside of games, he jumps into your freaking parties and blasts music. Just jumps into the party, starts blasting music. You block him and you lock the party, he'll keep jumping back in somehow. So that's what it's like to play with Hewler. However, if you are committed to him for the season, you have to play him. He is an absolutely outstanding player, and he could be a difference maker. Audacity.
I mean, the Armada, when I saw the team they drafted, I was like, how did they get all these players that was in the TC? It surprised me then, and then they dominated all. I don't really see, other than Halifax, giving the Armada even a chance in the playoffs to lose.
Yep. Real quick, I do want to bring this up because I was sitting in the chat box all day yesterday. There was a lot of chirping between Kingston and the Armada. One of the biggest chirps was Legend said, "Kingston, have you even beat anyone good yet?" And I found that amusing because no, Kingston, technically you haven't beat anyone good yet. No offense, Mitty,
yeah,
but you're an 8th seed.
Yeah.
Okay. You beat the number 7 seed and the number 8 seed. So what he said, no, he hasn't. But neither has Armada. The Armada had a bye week 1, so they didn't even have to play. Then they go and beat a number 9 seed to move on. No, they haven't played anybody good yet either, so they cannot chirp that way.
No,
it doesn't work.
But this Final Four was very easy to predict. There might have been one outside team gotten in, but other than that, there are only 4 good teams in the queue, and they're the 4 that are in the quarters.
No, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, you're sitting here. I mean, we're sitting here 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's very predictable for the queue, and the Armada has had an absolute breeze through the playoffs. Does that mean that they're not good? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying Armada's not good. I predict Armada to be the team to leave the queue. But you're right. The only challenge they really have at this point is Halifax. And the reason I'm saying not Moncton is because the next series we're going to get into is the Moncton versus Victoriaville. Absolute surprise to me that Victoriaville pushes Game 7. I do have some inside information on that, but we'll save that until after we talk about this round. So, Mercy.
I'm going to pass.
Just talk about the fucking series.
No.
Yeah. I said there are so many amendments in the Constitution of the United States of America. I can only choose one. I can only choose one. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything you say, 5. Go ahead, ask me a question.
Did you?
5.
God damn, you're a bitch. Mitty.
So needy.
Well, yeah, I was actually very surprised that Victoriaville took a 2-7 because matched up in club challenge against us. They've matched up in club challenge against us, and again, we're an 8 seed in the OHL, and we've beaten them multiple times heftily. Like, I know they've mixed up their lines a little bit, but so have we. So like,
Oh my god, are we really talking about fucking?
No, I'm just
talking about
saying,
club
like,
games.
to-
We're
That's the
talking
only
about
time
club games
club's
right
gonna
now.
play that. That's
That's
the
the
only time
only-
we're gonna play the queue.
Yeah, that's the only time I have to judge the queue, right?
And it matters just about as much as preseason.
I'm not saying it matters, man. I'm just
Congratulations again to the Sarnia Sting, our preseason champions. Anyway,
Saying, from what I saw when I played Victoriaville, they weren't really anything
and,
special. but-
apparently the Barrie Colts are going for the Club Challenge champions.
Woo! Go Barry, Club Challenge champions.
From what I saw from them, it wasn't really anything special, so I'm definitely surprised, and good job on them for forcing Game 7 in that series.
I had audacity. I'm done with Mitty.
No, man. In that series, man. I mean, Timbo Slice, and just the way like he talks in the club and the chat box and stuff. He's definitely got penis envy over the O. Definitely. I mean, he's got something to prove with the Q, and he just doesn't have it. I mean, if that team was over in the O, we would smack it. It would be wouldn't even have made the playoffs. It would be right next to the Ice Dogs. So I mean, I just don't even care for that team. So.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna paraphrase here. I have a very long, lengthy message from Victoriaville's GM about the reason why this Game 7 was played on Friday. For those that don't know, Game 7 in this series was played on Friday. Moncton used a lot of illegal rosters. They used a GM from the NHL in their Game 5. Now, the whole thing with it was originally Victoriaville sent in a what am I trying to? Oh my god, brain fart. Complaint about Game 6 because they used an ECU twice in this series. For those who don't know the rule, we are telling you now, you can only use each ECU once per series. You cannot use the same ECU twice. You are supposed to use one ECU and one roster replacement and nothing else. I mean, am I wrong here, Mercy, on the rule?
You can ECU as many times as you need, but you can only roster to substitute once. The only catch was when you said you can only use one roster to one ECU. If you have three guys not show up, you can use 3 ECUs.
One PC player ECUs, he can't ECU.
Yeah, but yeah, you are correct about an ECU player can only be used once per series.
See, that's what we can use you for, is to clarify rules.
Mike Ferrero.
So So originally the complaint was sent for Game 6 because they used the same ECU twice in the series. That was overturned for a Victoriaville win, which would have forced a Game 7. Then they went back and they looked at the rest of the game's rosters, and they realized that in Game 5, Moncton used the GM for the NHL. I believe he played for Anaheim. And that is absolutely illegal. Now, here's the kicker. There are a lot of glitches in the system right now since we switched over. And Triss is working on all of them, and hopefully next season we will have them all completely fixed. Next to this GM's name, there was no call-up arrow. So the league ruled that the game would just be replayed and not forced as a, not forced as an overturn. Now, Victoriaville won Game 5. So because they won Game 5 and Game 6 was supposed to be a forfeit, Moncton sent in a complaint about because Game 5 was overturned and replayed that 6 shouldn't be. I don't know, man. It's all kinds of confusing. So they replayed Game 6 on Thursday, which pushed to Game 7 on Friday. Now, I will get into what I think about that whole Moncton thing later when I talk about the Moncton versus the Mooseheads. But for now, we're going to move on to the Mooseheads versus the Huskies. And I don't know what to make of this series. It was a 4-2 series. The Huskies aren't exactly a team to sneeze at, but they are a number 6 seed. So to push the number 3 seed to Game 6 is very impressive to me. And I congratulate the Huskies for forcing a Game 6 and almost forcing a Game 7. Anybody who watched that game, it was an absolutely close game. And unfortunately, it just didn't go the Huskies' way. Unfortunately for the Huskies, it didn't go the Huskies' way. Anyway, Mercy.
Yeah, if anyone watched the Game 6 of that series, it was a fun one to watch. It was back and forth. The Huskies were in the lead at first, and then it was tied, and then the Moose took the lead, and then it was tied again, and then the Moose took the lead at the end and ended the series. But, congratulations, Moose. You're now the bad guys. You beat a team with the GM has cancer. I hope you're proud of yourselves.
AGM.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. Semantics. You beat cancer. Not in a good way.
Oh.
I hope you're proud. That's all I've got to say.
Mitty.
There's got to be a lot of fight in the Huskies because it's tough to go down 3-0, especially when you lose games 2 and 3, 7-1 and 5-1. But they made the next game close, and there were only 1-goal games the next 3 games, and Game 6 was on their way, and forced to Game 7, which would have been something else. But yeah, the Huskies have a lot of fight in them, and I don't know what that says about Halifax though. I feel like now they might be a little bit worried facing Moncton or possibly going into the Q final against Armada or Cape Breton.
All right, and Audacity.
I mean, Halifax did a great job near the end of trade deadline, raping and pillaging basically bottom-feeding teams with offers of players that actually were active, but they're good players. You saw them offering 3-4 players for their top-line player. They did a great job at that. I was kind of mad because they were beating me 2 players, and they built a good team over there. I mean, the fact that they even went Game 6 is surprising to me. I thought they would dominate, but Ozzy likes to try new things out, mix his lines up constantly, send guys down, call guys up. He's like a mad scientist over there, and he still hasn't gotten the chemistry down correct. Once he does, though, if he gets it before he needs to get it before the Armada for sure.
Right. So moving on, we got the Golden Eagles versus the Sea Dogs. This was a really tough game to get any information on.
Yeah.
We were struggling the entire time to get any information about any of this series because nobody had a Twitch feed up. Nobody was in the chat box to tell us. So this was a tough series to get any answers on. But it was forced to Game 7. I believe in the show we said it could go either way. I believe I picked the Sea Dogs just because it's the Sea Dogs. I didn't really have anything to back that up. I just said, fuck it, Sea Dogs in 7. But it was a really close series, and the Golden Eagles pull it out 4-3. Mercy.
Yeah, this was another. I think there was a 4 seed versus a 5 seed. So these are teams that were very, very close in the standings in the regular season. I'm not surprised that this went to 7 games. One of the more interesting things about the series was the goalie for the Screaming Eagles that played in Game 7, Havocs. There were 2 players in the CHL this season that posted in the forums how they wanted to get off TC. One was Titan Dog Sheep, the other one was Havocs.
Oh, we all remember Titan Dog Sheep.
So Mike has some experience with that. From a goalie to go to having to post in the forum so he gets some playing times, to Game 7 player and ends up putting up some pretty good numbers throughout the entire playoffs so far. I mean, I don't know. I watched him play before when he was on TC, and he seemed like he just kind of goal lined in butterfly, and that can work against some not so good players once you get better. I don't know if he changed his play style. I didn't watch any of the games, but congrats to him for getting there. So,
all right.
Yeah, I have played with Havocs recently in some AHL scouting the past couple of days. He has changed his play style, so he's not just sitting in butterfly all the time anymore. He is a very good goalie, and he earned the #1 spot on Cape Breton by beating out the franchise, who, as you guys know, was the all-star selection from the Q, who didn't get to play. Franchise was 16-0, so that...
Franchise was the player that filled in.
He replaced Legend.
No, Legend replaced franchise. Yes, he did.
No, we didn't.
No, he didn't.
We were hosting the All-Star game.
I was playing it.
Yeah, and you didn't notice. You couldn't notice the
Legend
freaking
was
roster.
playing. I
No,
guarantee
franchise was playing.
We could literally bring up the vote and records right now if you want me to.
No, yeah.
They both got the All-Star award, by the way.
Hey, look at that. Mitty's right.
Really?
Ooh.
We would like to give it to the franchise 026, though he did not play in the game he wanted to. He replied saying he originally could. He was ready to go, but his Xbox crapped out.
Let's move on. Go ahead. Say what you were saying.
Yeah, well, that was my point. The franchise is a pretty good goalie in his own right as well. So for Havocs to come in and unseat him as the #1, and now he's going to be the starter for the rest of the playoffs, as far as I'm aware, for Cape Breton. So he's a pretty good goalie, and Halifax. Armada. Armada does have a tough test ahead of him, but I think Armada will still easily.
All right, we'll get into predictions for the next round later on in the show. Audacity.
Dude, I have no idea who these people are.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to the quarterfinals. We've got 4 pretty decent matchups here. I'm excited to see absolutely every one of these. We're going to start with the 76s, 67s, 49ers, Set Hut, versus the Kingston Frontenacs.
Was that a dumb football joke you inserted in the middle of that?
Absolutely. Really what it was me fumbling over the name of the Ottawa 67s. I called them the 76ers.
It's a basketball team.
Right. Now, here's how I view this. This is an absolute great matchup. It's the 2 seed versus the 3 seed. And the thing is I just don't see Kingston losing this series. I believe that Ottawa's going to be able to take 2. So I'm going to go Kingston 4-2 in 6. Mercy.
Before I go into any predictions, I do have to put a disclaimer that no, I am not going to show any favoritism to any of my picks going into this. This is just my personal opinion from someone looking at what I have seen so far out of them. So I'm sure that if some weird decision goes a way someone doesn't like, the first thing they'll say is, well, he picked that team to win, and so he's going to make it happen. Go fuck yourself. So anyway, the coolest thing to me about both of these OHL matchups, combined between all 4 teams, they have lost a total of 5 games in the playoffs between all 4 of them.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so all 4 of these teams are absolutely just crushing their way through 2 rounds. I think Kingston has played Kingston's played 9 games, lost 1. The 67s have played 10 games, lost 2. The Knights have played 9 games, lost 1. The Flintbirds have played 9 games, lost 1. That's impressive. That's ridiculous. No matter,
technically, the biggest losers in the OHL are Ottawa.
Is Ottawa for the 2-game series against the Petes. I think that particularly the Kingston 67s is going to be a great series. Honestly, me picking a team here is just kind of picking out of my hat. But I'm going to go with the underdogs here, and I'm going to say the 67s win this in 7. I think they have a very balanced team. They're not going to make the same mistakes that Kingston was able to capitalize on in their previous 2 rounds. Because I saw a lot of that where both the Colts and the give me a moment here, and the Bulldogs would either their breakout would be just slow, or they would just misplay the puck, and then all of a sudden you have a 2-on-0 on the goalie and you've got a goal, and that's kind of how Kingston plays. The 67s aren't going to do that. It's going to be a much harder time for Kingston to have that play style.
All right, Mitty?
Yeah, well, I think Kingston has really good defense, as they've shown. I think that the offense on both Ottawa and Kingston is fairly balanced, so it probably will come down to defense and goaltending in the series. And, I mean, other than Marino and their top line on defense, I think Kingston hasn't beaten defense, and Grazers and Immortal are 2 really good goaltenders themselves. I've never seen Go Heels play, so I can't really make a comment on his play, but if you have 2 solid goalies like Kingston does, and they've breezed through these playoffs, obviously this series won't be a breeze. I think Kingston will still win in 6 and 7.
All right, moving on to the other side of the O, we've got the London Knights versus the Flint Birds. In my opinion, unless Flint can pull out 7 goals or 8 goals a game, they're going to have a very, very tough time beating London's absolutely unstoppable offense. I'm going to go with London in 6 as well. I believe that Flint Birds can take 2, and I'm rooting for the Flint Birds just because they're the Flint Birds and we made them the Flint Birds. But I've also been riding the London Knights all season, and that's not going to stop now. Mercy.
This is again another matchup. Both these teams have lost 1 game coming into this. Both can score. London obviously at a much higher rate than not just Flint, but any other team in the CHL. I think London will be tested more this series than they've ever been. I think it'll go to 6 or 7, and I don't think there'll be any blowouts. But I think London pulls this out in 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'd go with the same thing, London in 6 or 7. I think they're just too talented offensively, and their defense can be able to shut them down if Cronwall's playing. So it depends how they line match, but I think it should be a fairly not easy, but it should be a fairly good series for them and a good challenge moving in towards the OHL final for London.
Audacity.
This is going to come down to straight GMing. I mean, both teams have good, solid first and second lines. It's going to be how they match them up and who's going to get the better matchup with the third lines. London's going to have the advantage, I think, because they have the better seed, so they'll be able to match better. But, I mean, if they decide, they can easily just give it up, just like the Battalion did, and screw the pooch. So I'm going to go with London. I think their GMs are pretty smart, and they should know better than to not line match. But, I mean, there's definitely a chance that Flint could win.
All right. We're going to move to the other side. We've got the Armada versus Cape Breton. In my opinion, the Armada has not played anybody that is on their level. And unfortunately for Cape Breton, even with their solid 2 goaltenders, I still don't think they're on the Armada level. I'm going to say that Cape Breton pulls out 1, and I'm going to go with Armada in 5. Mercy.
I think this is going to be a great series because obviously the Screaming Eagles have played well. Armada has yet to be tested in the playoffs. I think that the fact that Cape Breton is in their second round and they've been tested both times is actually going to play to their favor. And I could see this shockingly. I could see Cape Breton pulling this out in 6, but realistically speaking, I have to go with what's probably going to happen. Is Armada in 6 or 7. I don't think it's going to be like 4 or 5 though. This will definitely be a 6 or 7 series.
All right, Mitty.
I think it's going to be Armada in 5 or 6. I think the Armada, they have talented guys on their team, and goaltending can only do so much for you for Cape Breton. So I think they'll be able to win 1 game, and they might be able to still get a second one. But other than that, I think
Audacity.
Armada in 4. I don't think they're. I think they're unstoppable. Over in the queue, at least. There's nobody's going to stop them.
until they face the Kingston Frontenacs. I want to see the total.
Everybody until they face the Frontenacs.
And the last matchup is the 2 versus 3 seed. It's Moncton versus the Halifax Mooseheads. Now here's why I'm gonna predict the way I'm predicting. I know that at the beginning I said it was gonna be Armada, Moncton, Kingston, and London as the final 4. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go against Moncton here. Reason being is because a much lower seed, a much easier to defeat team, no offense to Victoriaville, was able to push a Game 7, no matter how they pushed it. All right, the fact that you struggled against a, what was it, number 7 seed? I believe Victoriaville was a 7 seed.
Yes. No.
The fact, yes. Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Brenton was 4. Sea Dogs were 5. Huskies were 6.
Yep, you're right.
Cape Brenton was
7.
The fact that Moncton was struggled against the number 7 seed leads me to believe that the offense of the Mooseheads is just going to absolutely run away with this game, with this series. Now, by no means do I think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a 4-0. I'm going to say, I know I'm saying this the entire freaking time, but I'm going to say the Mooseheads in 6. I believe Moncton's going to be able to take 2. And honestly, I could really see this series going either way, but based on the facts of what I've seen and the testing during the playoffs, Moncton only has the one series I can judge them on, whereas the Mooseheads have 2. And they've absolutely, even though they struggled a tiny bit last series against the Huskies are a better team than Victoriaville, in my opinion. And they were able to handle them in 6. I think all of them are going to be close games, but I think Halifax pulls this out in 6. Mercy.
Yeah, I can't comment too much about some of the stuff that happened in the last series, but on the ice against Victoriaville, the Moncton definitely showed they were a better team, although it took a little bit longer than I'm sure they would have wanted to have happen. Obviously, you know, they're coming into this series heavy favorites. We all know who Timbo is. We all know that he is a very loud personality. That he has no problem going toe-to-toe with anyone in the league as far as chirping goes. And that's good for the league, don't get me wrong. You need all types to make this fun, and people like Timbo make it fun. So, I do think that Halifax stands a better chance than I think a lot of people are going to give them credit for. But, once again, just similar to the Barry, the Battalion Barry situation, just because a team gets beaten in a 7-game series or struggles in a 7-game series doesn't necessarily mean that they were the worst team. I would challenge anyone to argue with me about who was the better team between the Battalion and Barry, because I have 81 games to show you why the Battalion were better. You have 7 games in a playoff series. So I'm going to go with Moncton in 6, because they've shown over the course of the season why they're one of the best teams in the queue. That's my pick.
All right. Mitty?
I'm going to say Halifax in 6. I think the trades that Ozzy has made, nearing the trade deadline, getting guys like Tyler C. they have a high-powered offensive line. It's just gonna matter. It's just gonna come down to if their goaltending and defense can stop Moncton's offense. I feel like even if you deal with Vachon properly, who's a very good player, Tyler C is also a very good right winger as well. So he can hurt them too if they go second line versus first line, or first line versus second line.
All right. Audacity?
I'm definitely going with the Mooseheads. I just don't think Timbo really has much of a team that can compete with them. I think they competed well with the other teams in the queue, which weren't very stacked, but I think his team is stacked both defensively and offensively, and they're going to make it all the way to the finals.
All right.
All right, all three of you can be wrong then. I'm totally fine with that.
Still love
Or you could be wrong.
Nah, nah.
If you're wrong, you got to take your shirt off for the next one.
Oh gosh.
Here's where here's where the four of us stand between myself, Mercy, Greasy, and Quinn. As far as predictions, last week we noted that the biggest loser was Mercy. That hasn't changed. One of Quinn's predicted teams has been got knocked out in round 1, and in round 2, one of Greasy's teams, the Huskies, got knocked out. I am the only one with all 4 teams that I predicted still in it, even though I bet against one of them. The Kingston Frontenacs, the London Knights, the Armada, and Moncton are still in. So I did also beat a guy with cancer. Makes it bittersweet victory. We'll see if my picks completely stand up next round. I hope Moncton takes this with a grain of salt and comes out and plays hard, because I want to see this series. I really want to watch all of these series. These series are gonna be great.
I just can't wait to see if Moncton loses, how salty they're gonna be in the chat box.
Oh, maybe as salty as North Bay.
Just maybe as salty as North Bay.
What line is Ottawa's good line?
They're very balanced. I'm sure they have a top line, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
Is it the Maldini line? Because they're losing 5-1 right now. I just want to point that out in the third period. Is that their good line? I just want to make sure.
Let's
The
give it.
Maldini line.
The Maldini line.
Oh,
they're taking a pause. They need a timeout.
I'm not sure what their number 1 line is. That's something you'd have to talk to Ottawa about.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought because you guys mentioned Maldini and the few guys playing tonight, and yeah, they're losing 5-1. Kingston.
Right.
O'Doyle rules.
Just also score from the Moncton Mooseheads game, 6-4 Moncton.
There we go.
And Flynn is up 2-1 after 2.
It looks like. Say that again about Flint.
Flint is
2-1
up
after 2.
2-1 after 2.
2-1 after 2. And just for some perspective, since I don't know when people are going to be watching this, we are currently recording, and it's 8:58 game day. So we're final scores are starting to trickle in from our picks. It's a good thing we finished them right before we start learning the scores.
All right, moving on. We're gonna move on to the Doghouse segment. This is my favorite segment. That
I'm gonna go first because I'm gonna.
Oh, Mercy is going.
I told you but with the new bug position also means that I'm probably not gonna say things like Snake sucks at goalie or whatever like I did in the original part of the Doghouse. I'm gonna say stuff like this, which is Quinn is in the Doghouse for getting drunk nightly now apparently.
Yeah, he gets his little thing that says he's 19 years old and he's at the bar every goddamn night now. The reason he's not here, he's too tired because he partied too hard last night. And it is now 9 o'clock at night, and he partied so hard last night that he can't be up at 9 o'clock today.
6 p.m.
I don't give a fuck what time it is his time. That's ridiculously late. I've had some wild fucking partying in my day, okay, and I've never, ever slept till 6 o'clock in the next day. Never. Ridiculous. All right, Mitty, you got a doghouse?
Honestly, I have no idea.
You better fucking come up with something. You're on the goddamn LG doghouse. You've got you got about 15 minutes to come up with something good. Audacity.
I'm going to go with Pauly Chunk and the Pete's. Quitting is not classy. You had an opportunity to replay Game 5. You also could have forced a Game 7, and you decided to forfeit out. Quitting is not classy. I don't care what anybody says, how classy it was. Taking a forfeit is being a bitch move.
It is a bitch move. It's an absolute bitch move. Oh, shit, I had something, dude. I lost it.
Where's your doghouse?
Oh, I had it, dude.
Well, you had it written down or something?
Well, no, I mean, I was ready to record yesterday at fucking 1 o'clock, all right, bitch? I was ready. I had my doghouse then.
Wait, he told me that it was you.
Let's not talk about this.
That was in the chat. Mercy said it was Mike. Oh, man.
No, I said in the chat yesterday that we couldn't record yesterday because a certain member decided to sleep through the appropriate time.
Ah. I didn't think you were telling on yourself.
Let's not talk about who that was.
Mercy.
In my defense, I work nights, okay? I don't go to bed till like 5 a.m. Sometimes as late as like 7 a.m. So being up before like 3 p.m. is a feat for me. What in the world is he doing now?
I'm trying to remember who the fuck it was.
Okay, I'll go with mine. Then.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, for the previous round, honestly, I would put myself in the doghouse for how I played at center. I did not play as well defensively as I should have. I did not play as well offensively.
Excuse me.
It just wasn't a good series for me, and I got ripped on by Bogey after. Which the reason I didn't like that was just because like we talked about it personally beforehand of what I did wrong and like what I need to do to fix it. Yeah, I know, right?
It's a doghouse. We don't hold back.
Oh, I loved it. I'm not going to lie. When he said that, I said, look, they're turning on each other. Plan is working.
All right. Here comes my doghouse. It's Timbo Slice. Putting Timbo Slice in the doghouse. And it's not because of the roster moves. This is personal. All right. I went in and the chat box was going off.
Oh, I know what this is about. This is going to be a fun one.
Everybody's talking about where they're going to play next season. Mitty, you were included, and all that shit. And I just posted a roundabout statement about how you guys aren't out of the fucking playoffs yet. You got Moncton chirping, saying where they're going to play next season. You got Armada chirping about where they're going to play. Kingston getting into it, where they're going to play next season. I'm like, seriously? You guys are still fighting for a cup. Win a cup. Right? So I say that. I get from Timbo Slice, Sir Mike, shut your fucking mouth and go blow weed smoke in your son's face. Bitch, I don't smoke weed. Alright? I don't smoke weed, first of all. Alright? And if you're gonna bring this shit up again, you're gonna go into the fucking doghouse. Did you forget I have a fucking radio show? I can blast you everywhere. I don't give a fuck. Don't fucking care. Say what you want about me. I made a roundabout statement, and you made it personal. Somebody sounds like they're a little afraid of Halifax and getting out of the semis. Just saying. Gotta do your chirping now, because once Halifax wipes the fucking floor with you, you're gonna have nothing to fucking say. Got it? Get it? Got it? Good. Let's move on. Now,
his Boston accent really came out in that.
It did, man. When I get hyped, bro. When I get hyped, the Boston comes out on me. It's wicked pisser. You know, we'll go park the car in Harvard Yard, go to the bar, get a beer.
Are you
Tom
from
Brady.
Boston? Your accent. Hey, where's your name?
Yeah, I don't have a Boston accent. I play football in Boston.
I'm sorry, man. I can't understand the words you're saying. You're like, hey, what do you mean? I ain't got no Boston accent. Just say something and I'll spitball with you.
No, I really don't.
Go Sox. Hey, that's some wicked hot chowder.
That was English. It's New English. From fucking New England, motherfucker. Anyway, moving on. That doghouse was a little personal to me. All right?
It did.
It hit me a little personally. You bring my kids up in anything, dude. I get fucking heated, and I will call everybody out. Don't bring my fucking kids into any argument we have. All right? You want to bring my kids up? You do with my son. My son will. He is the perfect height to headbutt you right in the fucking nuts. I don't give a fuck how fucking tall you are. He will run into you head first, and you will go down for the fucking count. And I'm not talking about Mikey Jr. I'm talking about Dustin, my little Harry Potter fan. All right, wearing Harry Potter glasses. Dustin, come here. Where are your glasses? Come here. Put them on. Get over here. I'm done with you. This one right here. My little 5-year-old. He will whoop any one of your asses. Avada Kedavra your ass, alright? Right? The dog get you? Alright. And for anybody who doesn't know, my dog's name is Hagrid. Guess who named that? Alright. So that's it. That's all I have for the doghouse, and my son is sitting there screaming because the dog's messing with him. Hold on. Stop screaming. He's done. He's laying down. Leave him alone. Alright. So moving on. Alright. So unless anybody else has anything to talk about. Nope. That'll do it for this episode of the LG Doghouse. From myself, By Mercy and Grace, Mitty, and Audacity. Keep it classy, LG.
Oh, that is the opposite of classy, Audacity. Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
You like it. Get in my belly, 67s. Get in my belly.
Oh, I'm so recording that.
You just called 67s babies.
Yes.
I just that's totally going in the show.
It's okay.
Jack Skellington dance.
I just missed that. I scrambled to start the recording again, and it started right as you guys sat down, you assholes.
Alright, I'll make Jack dance again.
Oh gosh.
I know Mitty wants to see it.
There are minors that are gonna watch this, man.
That's for the 67s right there.
You guys, I swear.
I just wish I had Mitty's thumbs. That's all I want. I want Mitty's thumbs. Look at that. This thing's like giant. They have these little girl hands. I'm only good at poke checking. That's it.
See, I just play goalie. I don't need thumbs.
Exactly. He just puts his balls up on the control. You might make more safe sausage. Yeah, the Vienna sausage fingers.
I love it. All right, I'm gonna head out. Actually.
All right, boys. Yeah, I gotta smoke this cigarette.
Where you going?
Huh?
Where you going? The game's still on.
I've been sitting here watching football with you all day, Mike.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Mike, I'm gonna have to let you go.
No.
I'm cutting you off.
No.
You've had too many to drink tonight.
No, I have not.
Good night, Mike.
No. What? Who's your team?
Oh, the Redskins. Yeah, yeah.
One and done?
One and done.
One and done.
One
Shut your mouth.
and done.
Shut
Beat the Giants in the Super Bowl. We do it all season long. You can't do it once.
How many rings you got?
3.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh. I like them little sausage fingers. I don't want to put them in a little can of Vienna.
This is gonna be the most sexually awkward episode we have ever done.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Yeah, I've been recording for like 5 minutes. That's definitely gonna be in. That's definitely gonna be in the outtakes.
I'm just trying to figure out what part of the junior section did he find that Boston shirt at.
Oh, bitch. Don't be mad because my arms are big. All right.
It's one of those mediums.
I sell those in men's sizes, huh?